in 2021, we blocked about 389,000 listings that violate our animal or wildlife products policy. We spend a lot of our time trying to keep items off the site, take them down. One way is through automated filters. So keywords, price points, different aspects that we look at to either try and block listings from ever being listed on the site, or to flag them on the back end and have a customer service agent review those listings and determine whether it violates our policy and have those removed. In addition, we have a smaller team that is on a daily basis actually just proactively searching the eBay site to see what's getting on there. Are there new things that aren't in our filters that we need to take down? Are there people trying to get around them? But also the developing technology, using more artificial intelligence, using more machine learning, doing things like that that can help to predict, how sellers may try to evade the system, or also looking at, the history of a seller, scrutinizing sellers differently based on their history. If they had previously hit a filter or a block filter, or had previously had a restriction, they may get closer scrutiny upon another listing than, say, a seller who has an otherwise, good selling history. So trying to, it's always trying to find that needle in a haystack, certainly in 1.5 billion listings.
Can you give me some examples of new trends that you're seeing in terms of wildlife products?
Sure, yeah. I mean, pangolin is probably the biggest one in the last few years that went from an animal that I, myself included, 4 or 5 years ago, had probably never even heard of, to, I believe, one of the most trafficked animals globally now. And trying to find, how those items are being listed on the site. Obviously they appear in commerce in different ways. They might appear on eBay in a much different way than they would appear in a market somewhere, around the world. And so we've seen people try to list those using the term anteater boots or things like that. And that's the kind of information, that's the kind of insight we get from having these partnerships with experts like WWF and IFAW to help us, better detect those items. Another interesting one that came up a few years ago was an insect called Wallace's giant bee, and literally a giant bee insect that was thought to be extinct for a number of years and was recently rediscovered. And then we found a couple of listings on eBay, took those down, and then were able to put filters in place to further prevent those listings from coming back. So that was an interesting one of something that obviously wasn't on our radar at all because it didn't seem like it existed anymore. And then it came back in, and immediately people were trying to sell it. So again, having that, trying to stay ahead of the curve as much as possible on those really helps with these partnerships.
Is there anything truly weird in the wildlife world that has shocked you, that you've had taken down?
Yeah, actually, probably 10 years ago in Canada, we had a person list a beached whale. It was, sort of rotting on the beach. And it turned out it was the local mayor of the town. And he had tried different ways to get it off the beach. It was hurting his tourism, and it was just rotting on the beach. And he finally sort of gave up and said, fine, I'll list it on eBay. And I'll say, hey, does a museum want this? Eventually it'll be a nice skeleton. You can come and collect it. And obviously somewhat in jest, knowing that someone wasn't going to do it. We were quickly alerted to it, obviously took it down because it was prohibited under our policy. And he heard about it, and he was very, understanding and said, hey, I just was looking to get publicity for this thing anyway, which I think he did. But that's probably a good example of an interesting, weird one that occurred in this space.